they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to the NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be with you here as we recap college football's national championship. The season officially in the books. Ohio State captures the title, and they also cover the spread. More on that in just a few minutes. In addition, of course, we're going to go over the very latest in the NBA. Dexter Henry is going to join us here on the program. Also the latest in the National Football League with Jacob Camenker. An early look at the AFC and NFC championship games, which are coming up this Sunday. Believe it or not, they're going to be here. I know, by the way, the weather is miserable all over the country, so stay warm out there if you can. Let's start off again. Boy, what a finish last night in college football's national championship. It appeared as though in the third quarter that Ohio State was not just going to win and cover, but blow out the Fighting Irish. But credit to them, they battled back to keep this thing close. But in the end, a long pass from Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith got OSU within field goal range. And folks, if you had the Buckeyes, you covered. And if you had the Fighting Irish, you did not. I see a lot of people on social media saying it was a bad beat for Notre Dame. Did they not watch the first half of this game? We're very fortunate to be even in this game at all. Ohio State, the clear better team, as Ryan Day, Will Howard, they end up winning the national championship. So let's start off there. Day, obviously very excited, elated to not just win a championship, but also Will Howard said that his journey officially is now complete.
The run we've gone on here in the playoffs, a big part of the way we've responded coming off the end of the season. But then even, the way the Texas game went and the way we responded early in that first quarter. And then even, in the second half, just continuing fighting the momentum because, Notre Dame was fighting to get it back. And we just kept swinging and got a huge stop there on fourth down on defense, got the missed field goal, kept swinging. Kept playing, and I give this guy a lot of credit right here, Will Howard. I think he ran the ball 16 times in a game. We knew it was going to be that way. It was the last game we had, so we were going to let out all the bullets, and he really put the team on his back.
Yeah, coming into this season, I think something that Coach Day and Coach Kelly and Billy really emphasized to me was completions. Get completions, take completions. There was a couple times early where maybe I had to check it down or maybe it wasn't perfectly how it's drawn up, but you want to, just keep the ball moving, and stay on schedule. And it may not always be pretty. You may have to go pick it up with your legs, But, I got to give all the credit to my guys, my O-line giving me time, and those guys, the receivers. I mean, we got the best receiver room in the country, and it's not even close. And the running backs did a hell of a job, man, and everybody, really stepped up when they needed it.
Big mistake in that Oregon game for Will Howard. Ever since then, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, no question. Meanwhile, the Fighting Irish jumped out to a 7-0 lead, a very long drive. Riley Leonard playing great. All of a sudden, things just went completely sideways for Notre Dame's defense and their offense as well. Leonard talked about how happy he was that Notre Dame even got to this point. Marcus Freeman also answering questions on some of the play calling in this one as well.
As far as this program goes, we've learned a lot. We've been through ups and downs. I've been through ups and downs. I don't even recognize the person I was before I got to Notre Dame. And it's all credit to these guys beside me and everybody else in the locker room.
Yeah, I'm tremendously grateful for what Riley and these guys have done for our program. And, week 2, it was a rough outlook, right? You go from the highest of highs to lowest of lows. And, the reality is we all had a little bit of doubt, but we all chose to work and we all chose to trust each other and choose to love each other and be selfless and put the team in front of ourselves. And they did it every week and every week. And you still had to trust beyond knowing if your work was going to get you the result that you wanted. And they continue to do it. And they put this program in a position to play for a national championship. And we didn't get it done. And it hurts. And my job is to figure out why, and I will. But I told these guys they've left this program better. I don't care if you're here for 1 year or you've been here for 6 years. Our program is in a better place because of the examples these two have set and many other leaders in that locker room. So the outlook of Notre Dame football is extremely high.
And all signs do point to Freeman returning to Notre Dame, although his name has come up as a potential interview candidate in the NFL. So we'll wait and see. Meanwhile, no updates as of right now on Eastern Michigan and their basketball program, which is being investigated for some unusual, suspicious betting activity in the first half of many of their games. In fact, a sports betting monitor company, Compliance 360, sent an alert to clients and NCAA conferences, sportsbooks, and gaming regulators, which notified them that a bettor placed a large wager on the Chippewas to cover the spread against the Eagles in the first half of Central Michigan. So no update as of yet, but naturally we'll keep an eye on this for you because if anything's happening like this in college basketball, it's got to be addressed. All right, addressing the head coaching position, the Chicago Bears did that, and it looks like they completed their mission. They've hired former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He's the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. He made this decision officially yesterday, is almost immediately after we were done with the show yesterday. So Bears have their coach. Raiders still do not. Jaguars still do not. Jets may have theirs today. More on that in just a minute. The Indianapolis Colts are hiring Lou Anarumo as their defensive coordinator. They fired Gus Bradley earlier this month, trying to get better on D. They were 29th in the league. Also, in terms of injury notes for the championship games this weekend, Christian Benford, Taylor Rapp of the Bills, they are uncertain for the game against the Chiefs. No injury report as of yet. We'll get that tomorrow. Cooper Kupp interviewed yesterday in his final time for the season. The question, it'll be the final time in a Rams uniform. He says he doesn't know, wants to continue to play in the NFL. Clearly, he had a down year. And as I mentioned, Aaron Glenn, according to NFL Network, is interviewing with the New York Jets today. There are some reports that say that they would like to hire him as the head coach, but still remains to be seen on that. We won't speculate. All right, Timberwolves' Dante DiVincenzo out with a toe injury. He's missed the last two games. Grizzlies beat the Wolves 108-106. Anthony Edwards missed the game-winning 3 in this matchup. Golden State, wow. Worst home loss in the Steve Kerr era. Didn't see this one coming. At least it came in the hands of Boston. 125-85 the final. You may remember Golden State got off to a good start. They were 12-3 to start the season. Since then, they're 9-18. Steve Kerr and Steph Curry both looking for answers, especially after the solid start last night.
I thought we played a really good first quarter. I think late in the quarter we had 7 assists, no turnovers. We were getting a lot of good looks. We were competing defensively, but the ball wasn't going in. I think we were 1 for 12 from 3 in that first quarter. So didn't feel like the right result for us the way we played in that quarter to go into the second quarter down 11. it felt like we had played better than that. And I think our guys, lost a little confidence. And, Boston obviously played a great game and made 23s and overwhelmed us from that point on.
A tough one from the end of the first quarter through the rest of the game. Thought we came out with pretty good life and energy. Big part of our season has been when we can't score, we lose spirit, we lose life, we lose competitiveness. You can get away with it against some teams, against the defending champs. It's not a good formula for success.
Right now, Steph Curry and the Warriors still trying to squeak into the playoffs if they can. That's not an issue for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, 33 points. Cavs beat the Suns last night, 118-92. They've been fantastic. And also the Pelicans with a huge comeback to beat the Jazz, 123-119. They were down 25 points, and C.J. McCollum had 45 points in this matchup. Baseball's hot stove has been quiet. One significant signing yesterday, the Toronto Blue Jays finally get somebody to go play for them. Anthony Santander, formerly of the Orioles, now with the Jays, 5 years, $90 million. He had 44 home runs for Baltimore last season. In the new AP poll, Auburn is now the unanimous number one team in the country as Duke moves to number two. Marquette, by the way, expected to promote Mike Broker to athletic director. Micah Peavy hits a game winner, 24 points. Georgetown beats Villanova 64-63. And a big game coming up in college basketball tonight. Two teams in the top 15 as Mississippi State takes on Tennessee. Ben Stevens will preview that game coming up for us a little bit later in the show. Vinnie Iyer of Sporting News is up next. Don't go away.
They have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's bring in Vinnie Iyer from Sporting News and go over some of the fun, I would say, players from the weekend, the fun teams from the weekend. So Vinnie is smiling because he and I both have been talking about this all season. The Washington Commanders, Vinnie, they just keep making me look good here. Another win over the Detroit Lions here. Covering, winning outright, 45-31. And, you know, certainly at this point, there's a lot of attention on the Lions at this point because of them being one and done. But, I just think in the end, to me, Vinny, it sort of proved what I thought earlier in the year. I mean, I did like Washington a lot. Everyone at this network knows that. But more so that the NFC was kind of weak. You know, like the NFC just didn't have a dominant team. Detroit was dominant on offense all year, but once they lost Hutchinson and a few of those defensive players, I thought they were exposed a lot, especially in that Buffalo game.
Yeah, there was little margin for error in this game, right? I mean, Jane Daniels just doesn't turn over the ball. And for a rookie, that's unusual, especially playing back-to-back road playoff games. Like, nothing rattles this kid. Like, he's calm. It's fourth down. They go for it aggressively more than any team in the league. I know Dan Campbell and the Lions seem to have that perception, but really it was the Commanders who were very good on fourth down. He doesn't seem to worry if it's third down or fourth down, whatever the game situation is. If they missed an opportunity, he comes right back, forgets about it, and they're driving downfield and making big plays. So the Commanders were a bad matchup for the Lions. This number that was like 9.5, or whatever seemed ridiculous, and it was, because they end up winning by 2 touchdowns here. And look, the Commanders can take down the Eagles this week. The way they're playing right now, they can beat anyone. And their defense started to make some big plays that we hadn't seen consistently. So, look, it's not going to be perfect for them defensively. They can't stop the run. They can get beat up that way. But if you can get ahead and put the quarterback in uncomfortable situations, which what they were able to do against Jared Goff, they had success. And now they get Jalen Hurts, who's maybe not as mobile, not throwing the ball downfield pretty well. So this could really line up well, these 3 games on the road for the Commanders to get them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it will. Let's take a look at their odds real quick. The odds of the game this weekend. Commanders are getting 6.5 against Philadelphia. The line opened at 5, went to 4.5, 5, 6. So I obviously am going to take the Commanders because I've been doing it all season long, so I'm not going to stop now. My only fear, Vinny, is that now everyone is on this bandwagon here a little bit. You know, the public, I think, is going to, even though the line is moving in favor of Philadelphia, I think everyone is going to take Washington this week. But that's not going to stop me. Like, I still think, I think this is going to be a much tougher matchup, a much lower scoring matchup, because Philadelphia's defense is fantastic. But why not Washington at this point?
Yeah, I think the one sneaky thing I would watch for the Eagles, they have been pretty bad against the run the first 2 games here. Just the teams haven't been able to stick with the run. Then you had the mistake last week with Kyren Williams fumbling that really changed the game. I mean, it was a 1-point game at that point, and the Rams might have been driving going in and maybe changed the outcome in the end. So you have to keep that in mind. This Eagles team has been very good against the pass. They've got young guys. Quinyon Mitchell could be, however, out in this game at corner, so that would be a big hurt against Terry McLaurin downfield. And then you look at this run defense. I mean, Josh Jacobs was able to have success. Kyren Williams went more than 100 yards here. So if the Commanders can run the ball with Daniels, Brian Robinson Jr., and Austin Eckler, they're going to have a real chance to win this game.
I think so, too. Should be a fun one. Now, where does Detroit go from here, Vinny, without Ben Johnson? Immediately after the game, it seems as though Ben Johnson shook Dan Campbell's hand and said adios, because it was reported almost immediately that he was going to head somewhere else. I see some folks on social media saying the reason why he took the Bears job is because obviously he has the most confidence in Caleb Williams. And while that could be true, I also wonder if this was the most money offered to him by any team too, right, Vinny? Like, that doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, the Bears are being very aggressive here. They're trying to put together this coaching staff with the, demoted Saints here, Dennis Allen, Darren Rizzi. They're trying to steal some of that mojo. They're trying to steal some of the Lions. And the reported contract here is $13 million. And yeah, I mean, that's what it was going to take, the money. And I think the quarterback does help. He wants to be successful with that money as well, because you don't want a short-term 2 seasons or 3 seasons and you're out of there again, and then you're stuck looking for another coordinator job. So I think he had to handpick the right spot. I think this is the right spot. I mean, the Jets and Saints are in quarterback limbo. Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott are in a bit of a mid-career crisis. So when you go elsewhere, I mean, it has to be the Bears. You get the first overall pick and a lot of offensive skill talent around. The biggest thing they're going to have to do going in is fix that offensive line. I think that's going to be number one priority. Draft or with the free agency, Ryan Poles is going to have to do that. If they can get their offensive line shored up, I think they need like another running back in there that they can trust. Then you're cooking with gas here with this offense. So I really think the Bears are not that far away from being a very high-scoring team.
Chiefs advance to another AFC championship, Vinny. They are on the doorstep of another Super Bowl here. and they are a favorite to go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, only by 1.5 points here, so potentially could be a very close matchup. This was the only game that I really didn't love of the weekend. It just anticlimactic, Vinny. I felt eventually the Chiefs are going to win. They're probably going to cover. Depending on the line, I guess it could have, you could have won, you could have lost, depending on where you bet it. Mahomes has been fantastic in all of these spots, 16-3 in the playoffs, 47 touchdowns total, 8 interceptions. And, look, I don't want to take anything away from them, Vinny. I'm going to root for Buffalo here, though. I got a little overload here on Kansas City. No offense to them.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is Patrick Mahomes has heard the hype from the other game. And I think we forget this kid also plays with a chip on his shoulder. Even though he's won 3 Super Bowls, he's the best quarterback in the league. You heard that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson MVP talk. He knows when it counts the most. Look, this is when he kind of lights it up. We saw Travis Kelce all of a sudden turn back the clock. This Chiefs team just knows how to win these close games at this time of the year. They're kind of like what the Patriots used to do to other teams. And look, the Bills are going to have their hands full because I think they're going to unleash the fury of Mahomes this week.
Yeah. So does that mean you're on the Chiefs, Vinny? 1.5 total?
Yeah, I mean, I have to see it to believe it the other way. I don't want to be, but I just can't go against them in these spots. I mean, they've owned the Bills in the playoffs. They own these situations at home, especially.
Yeah, they have in the past. Could be in the future. Thanks, Vinny, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Not what I wanted to hear there. All right, coming up next, we'll have a preview in the SEC's tonight's big game between Mississippi and Tennessee as Ben joins us. Don't go away.
They have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Kind of sad to have the college football season on the back burner, but don't despair because in 6 months we'll be doing it all again in August. College football comes quick. Let's get a college basketball preview of tonight's game. We'll also hear from the head coaches of the Ravens and the Lions. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. The SEC has dominated the headlines in college football and college basketball. Probably not for good reason in football, considering the Big Ten is the champ. But in college basketball right now, it's the best thing going. Number one team in the country, of course, is Auburn. They're ranked number one. We also have two teams in the top 15 that are facing off tonight, and it's Mississippi State taking on Tennessee. So let's get a preview of tonight's action on the hardwood. Here is our very own Ben Stevens with a preview.
As they so often are, another night in the SEC, chock full of some great matchups around the conference. A time for two teams to start to figure it out within SEC play. Tennessee hosts Mississippi State in Knoxville. The Vols were the last undefeated team in D1 men's college basketball. A perfect 14-0, but have now dropped 2 of their last 4, including to in-state foe Vanderbilt over the weekend, hoping to get back on track against the Bulldogs, who did edge out a victory against their in-state foe Ole Miss over the weekend. But a defensive team under Chris Jans, known for being great on that side of the floor, the Bulldogs have allowed at least 80 points in 3 consecutive SEC tilts. Another marquee matchup in the Southeastern Conference. Rinse, wash, and repeat this college basketball season.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Now let's get over to some NFL football. You saw the press conference after the game where the Lions lost. A very despondent Dan Campbell really had a hard time getting through it. But the reality is for the Detroit Lions, they still have a long way to go before they shut the book or close the book on this upcoming team. Let's hear from Dan Campbell on what the future holds for Detroit.
You know, we talk about that core group is still intact, and some of these guys are now, you know, we've signed some back, some are up on contracts, and that'll be ongoing. But yeah, we absolutely do, you know, and I think the most important thing is you want to know you got your culture, you got your identity, and you got players and that fit into that, and we've got that. Like we got players in every pivotal position you can ask for to have success. And those guys are made the right way. So absolutely our window is open.
Does that change if you lose one or both of your coordinators?
It can't, right? It can't. Can't allow that to happen. That's my job, is to replenish and find the next man up and the guy who's going to give us the best chance to have success on both sides of the ball. So we're not going to allow that to happen. I'm not. Does it hurt to lose those guys? Absolutely. They're a part of what we've been here. I mean, they've been here for 4 years. They're one of the major reasons why we've been able to get to where we've been, man. We came out of the dump and got to where we're at. So, man, I will forever be grateful for those guys, and our team will. And is it a loss? Absolutely it'd be a loss. But yet, man, we move forward. This train rolls on, and I'll find the next best guys for us.
And the offensive coordinator and potentially defensive coordinator could be moving on. We already know Ben Johnson is headed to Chicago. Meanwhile, what will the future hold for the Baltimore Ravens? Lamar Jackson, certainly another season without getting to or winning a Super Bowl, although most would say probably not his fault this time around. Patrick Ricard, still very confident, the fullback of the Ravens, in his quarterback getting to the finish line.
You know, with how talented Lamar is, that it's just, at some point, the odds are that he's going to get there.
Yeah. You know, how special he is, and I think this year you're just seeing how he's grown as a player, just how quickly he's making decisions, just his growth of his reads, the way he throws the ball, the way he decides when to run. It's inevitable. He's going to win a Super Bowl, and I want to be a part of it, and it just sucks that it hasn't happened yet, you know. But, you know, I personally feel bad for him because he deserves it, just because of how great of a player he is. Like, he deserves to be considered one of the best quarterbacks. He already is, but I know everyone considers championships as the standard, and you know he'll get it one day. You know, I always love when people compare him to Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was 3-5 in playoffs, in the same amount of span that Lamar is, and he went to win a couple. So there's still time. He's still young. He's definitely going to get one at some point.
I think most believe that. Lamar Jackson still with a lot of football to play. Coming up next, we'll dive into what the Chicago Bears could look like next season and which direction the Lions go. Jacob Camenker of USA Today is up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, you know, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Jacob Camenker from USA Today to recap some of what we saw in the NFL and maybe look toward the coaching carousel that still is spinning, although kind of slow. Let's bring Jacob in. Jacob, we did get big news yesterday. Ben Johnson made his choice. He was a candidate for like 3 or 4 of the different spots on the NFL coaching carousel. He picked the Bears. So naturally, the thought process, at least the narrative that's being built as well, he picked the Bears because they have Caleb Williams. I think that is fair. I mean, that's sort of a fair statement to make because they have a good quarterback. But we also don't know what the money is yet, Jacob. You know, like I'm still waiting on that before I just say, yeah, it was all about the quarterback.
Right. I think if you look at the situation, the Bears probably had, among the teams with the openings, the best roster and the clearest path to contention just in terms of being able to quickly rebuild. I think you look at it from a money perspective, the Bears did win the bidding for Ben Johnson. We don't know how much he got, but there was a lot of buzz late in the process that was saying, hey, the Raiders are in on this. The Raiders really want him. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if those two teams got into a bidding war, or if Johnson's agent just kind of was able to make it seem to the Bears like, hey, he might actually get this Raiders job to up his money. So I think that's definitely a factor there. But I think if you look at the 5 openings, you look at Caleb Williams, you look at DJ Moore, you look at that offense, yeah, they need to rebuild the offensive line in Chicago. That's something that they don't have that Ben Johnson's offenses in Detroit did have. But aside from that, the skill position players, they are ready to have a quality unit there. So I think Ben Johnson looked at that and said, hey, if I can just focus this offseason on fixing that offensive line, we could quickly get this team back to being competitive.
Yeah, and definitely Johnson did wonders for that Lions offense, especially for Jared Goff, who was fantastic in Detroit. I mean, he was left for dead, no offense, in L.A. They just discarded him for Matthew Stafford. They win a Super Bowl. Goff is an afterthought and, you know, came within one game of getting to the NFC Championship. I know he had a really bad game in the divisional round, but, you know, anything can happen in one game. It looked like he was pressing a lot. Who knows if that hit really affected him? But certainly if you look at those numbers there and you try to extrapolate what he could do for Caleb Williams, you would think that they're in good shape. Now, as far as the remaining head coaching candidates are concerned, we still don't know what the outcome will be for many of the teams. There are some reports that the Jets are really interested in Aaron Glenn, although I got to call it how I see it, Jacob, their defense hasn't been all that great. No offense, Aaron Glenn. It doesn't look good. Brian Flores of Minnesota, he's still out there. His defense was fantastic. Robert Saleh looks a lot better now based on the way that the Jets ended. Mike McCarthy, Liam Cohen, Joe Brady, Deion Sanders. I've said before, Jacob, I think Brady is going to end up getting a gig, man. I don't know. It just something tells me with the success that he had at LSU with Joe Burrow and now the success that he's had with Buffalo. I don't know how he interviews, but to me, he's one of those guys that I think ends up somewhere.
I like Brady as well. I think he'll have a shot to land a gig. I initially at the start of the offseason projected that he might land with the Jaguars because Jacksonville really needs to get a coach in there that can bring Trevor Lawrence to the next level. And with what Joe Brady did with Joe Burrow at LSU and now Josh Allen, turning him from a big-time playmaker MVP candidate to, taking that next level, making him more efficient, I think that would appeal to the Jaguars. But they might also look at Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator, from the he did very well with Tampa Bay this year, had Baker Mayfield playing at a high level. So I think those guys are two names to watch. As far as Aaron Glenn is concerned, I think he'll get either the Jets or Saints job. I understand that the numbers defensively don't look very good, but by all accounts, Glenn is a great motivator. And I think if you just look at the personnel Detroit has had over his time there, it really hasn't been very good. And this year they were dealing with so many injuries. But when they had Aiden Hutchinson on the field, when they had Aleem McNeil on the field, when Alex Anzalone was healthy, this unit was able to get enough stops to make the Lions a 15-win team. So I think a team like the Jets might look at that and say, hey, we have a pretty good defense in terms of personnel ready to go. If we get Glenn in here, he might be able to take it to the next level more so than people realize. So those are my thoughts on Aaron Glenn. I do think he's going to be probably the next hire, whether it's in New York or New Orleans.
Now, the Cowboys, the Jets, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Jaguars, those are the teams that still have vacancies. So we'll look later in the week. We'll see if anything ends up happening. And if something does, of course, I'm sure Jake will be writing about it over at USA Today. We'll report it here at SportsGrid as well. All right, recap the Bills and Ravens here. I mean, look, everyone is talking about how it came down to one play. I do feel really bad, obviously, for Mark Andrews. If that's the case, it came down to two plays. But this is exactly how we thought the game would play out, Jacob. It's like whoever has the ball last wins. In this case, the Ravens really did have a chance at the end of this game. Buffalo did not play their best football. The Ravens outgained them. But, mistakes are going to happen in football games, and it simply does seem to me the story of the weekend was the teams that made the big mistakes didn't win. Simple as that.
Absolutely, and especially in that Baltimore game, you look at it, early in that first half, Lamar Jackson had two rough turnovers. He had one interception that was just lofted and really just didn't look like it was going to any Ravens player, and then he had a fumble that Von Miller returned into the red zone, and that really gave the Bills the advantage. You have to give the Ravens credit for fighting back. Their defense really stepped up throughout the game, but especially in the second half. And just a couple mistakes from Mark Andrews. And Jackson and Andrews have been two of their most reliable players for the last 5 years. Those mistakes are going to kill you in those big moments. I think they'll come back stronger from this. I don't think we've seen the last of the Ravens. They'll eventually get over that hump and get to the Super Bowl, I think. But, this one's going to stink pretty hard. But, yeah, every team that made mistakes really lost. The Lions had 3 interceptions from Jared Goff and 1 from Jameson Williams on the only trick play Ben Johnson ran in that game that I didn't agree with. And then you look at the Texans, they outgained the Chiefs, but they were just killed on special teams. They allowed that return right out of the gate. Kaimi Fairbairn missed a couple of kicks. Granted, one was from 55-plus yards, but that end of the game one that got blocked, you looked at that and you said, oh, man, like if he made that, they would have at least had a shot. But once it was blocked, it was game over.
Mahomes has dominated in virtually every game that he's played against Josh Allen, and that goes back to the divisional round game, 27-24. Chiefs won 42-36 in 2022. In 2020, that was another epic game, 38-24. I mean, is this ever going to turn, Jacob? I mean, we just had Vinnie Iyer on. We were talking to him also, Jacob, and it's like, I don't look, obviously I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm not anti-Chiefs or anything like that, but just once in a while, it would be nice to see somebody else get to the Super Bowl here. Bills are getting 1.5 points on Sunday. Boy, I cannot see this line going to 2. So to me, it's either 1.5 or 1, I think, going into Sunday night.
I think you're right. This is if the Bills-Ravens game last week felt like a coin toss, this one does too. I think if you look at this version of the Chiefs team, this feels like, as weird as it sounds to say, this might be one of the more beatable recent versions of the Chiefs, even though they've only lost once this year, just because their offense isn't particularly explosive. And yeah, we're getting a playoff Travis Kelce now, and Xavier Worthy's more comfortable with Patrick Mahomes, but they don't have Rashee Rice, who they had last year and was doing really, really well. Isaiah Pacheco hasn't been the same since coming back from his leg injury this year, so they're leaning more on Kareem Hunt. So this offense can be slowed down more so than we've ever really seen. The only question is whether Buffalo can avoid making those killer mistakes that we've seen other teams make, because they have one weakness on the defensive side. They tend to be gashed in the running game when they're at their worst. They've had an up and down year. Their linebackers, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, being healthy has been huge for them. But if they can make the Chiefs one-dimensional, I think that the Bills will have a chance to win this one. But I expect this to be a close, down-to-the-wire coin flip game. It should be a good one, but I think everyone's with you, Craig. We'd like to see the Bills get to the Super Bowl and a little something different.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would prefer. But again, if it's the Chiefs, I'll still watch, whatever it is. By the way, the Eagles are the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now at plus 180, which I found, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Jacob. I found it a little strange that they are the favorite, because whoever the AFC team is probably going to be the favorite in the Super Bowl, I would guess.
Right. I think this is just an acknowledgement that Chiefs-Bills game is a coin flip and the Eagles more likely to beat Washington. But hey, we'll see what happens. Washington's been on a tear. If the Eagles can't get up going on offense, could get a little scary there for Philly.
Yeah, 8-1, Commanders to win it all. All right, Jacob, thanks again for coming on. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Great to have Dexter Henry back in the house previewing some NBA, and Dexter, always some great opinions and some solid picks. We'll see if we got some winners tonight. Dexter, thanks again for coming on NewsWire here. Here in South Florida, Dexter, a lot of the conversation has been, surrounding Jimmy Butler, and, certainly the Miami Heat have been a little up and down, to say the least, with him being back. And we're scrutinizing like every single play, like every single minute of the games that he's playing in. It does seem like the divorce is coming. We just don't know when. The trade deadline is coming, by the way, February the 6th. And it would seem to me that if they could have moved him, they would already, Dexter. This is the last thing they wanted to do, is bring him back on the court again to kind of go through the motions. And it definitely seems like some of that is happening here. I know there's a lot of cap restrictions. I know this is a difficult trade to make. Do you think something may get done before this deadline?
One thing I'll say with this, Craig, is it wouldn't shock me if also Miami just was like, "Hey, we're gonna tough this out," because they have all the leverage here. They're the ones with all the leverage. It's not Jimmy Butler, who does have a player option he can pick up for $52 million. The Miami Heat, they're not going to give him a contract extension. They said they don't want to give him a contract extension. They're not going to negotiate with that. Jimmy Butler wants out. The thing about them is, as you know, this being in South Florida, it's been all about Heat culture. It's all about keeping the vibes good there. I don't think they want to malcontent Jimmy Butler around. Not saying that I think Jimmy is going to try to disrupt the team. I don't necessarily think that, but the vibes aren't good. You said a divorce looks like it's inevitable. I would tend to agree with you. However, with these new apron restrictions in the NBA and the market for Jimmy Butler, who's 35 years old, we have to remember, not sure how great the market is for him. I don't know if they can get the best they would get for Jimmy Butler, let's say as they would have got 2-3 years ago. So I think this is a situation where Miami is going to try to push to the deadline, look for the best deal that they can get. I say a deal gets done, but I think it's actually closer to the deadline than probably, we're about 2 weeks away than probably too much far before.
Yeah, I mean, we keep hearing Phoenix's name over and over again. Golden State's name has come up, but that would be a desperate trade. That's not an organization usually that makes desperate trades. Dallas probably feels good where they are, and Houston's timeline has just moved up with the way that they've played. So, taking on Butler could be good for now, but would it be good for their future? I think that remains to be seen. All right, let's go to the Bulls Clippers from last night. The Bulls get a big win, by the way, surprise win. Clippers have been playing great basketball, no question about that. 4-game win streak snapped, 112-99. The Bulls win. But what direction should the Bulls head, you think, at the deadline here? They still have, Lonzo Ball as a possibility to be moved and some other players as well. Chicago's going to have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to get into some of these play-in games in the playoffs and chase that, or they want to just reset for next year.
Yeah, if you're Chicago, right, Craig, this is the same. We've seen this movie before, right? This is a team that's going to be anywhere between 7-10 and in the play-in. I don't think they're a true playoff team. Zach LaVine is having himself a fantastic season shooting the ball. He's 30 years old. I think you should try to move him. I thought this team should have started tearing it down a year ago. Probably, actually, I could even argue 2 seasons ago. But here they are now. Nikola Vucevic is a contract that you would likely think that you could move. He's making about $20 million a year. But who wants Nikola Vucevic? He's a good offensive player, doesn't give you as much on defense. Zach LaVine, I think you can trade for. He does make a lot of money we just talked about the restrictions in this new apron world of the NBA. That makes it hard too. But the Bulls have had some inspiring wins, but I think they're in NBA purgatory right now. I really think that's where they are. They have to pick a direction. They have not picked a direction, and I think that's hurting the franchise. So nice win for them over the Clippers, who've been playing well and been playing some good defense, the Clippers, that is. But the Bulls, I think it's time to blow this up. The problem is, as you get more of these wins, Craig, it starts giving the fan base hope. Like, okay, right, yeah, maybe we can be a playoff team, but you're not really a playoff team.
No, they're not. And Clippers are. I mean, they had a nice win streak. They beat the Heat, the Nets, the Blazers, and then the Lakers before losing to the Bulls last night. As far as the Western Conference is concerned, Dexter, every time you come on the show, the odds keep getting thinner and thinner for OKC. They're down to plus 120 at this point to win the Western Conference. Far and away the best team in the conference. Second best odds here would be for the Joker. And, of course, the Nuggets are going to be there in the end. Dallas plus 850, Memphis 10-1, Houston is 16-1. Minnesota's right there at 15-1 as well. So it's like not even a 2-team race, at least the odds makers are telling us. Is OKC just that dominant that this is theirs to lose?
Yeah, I mean, they're that good. They're that deep, and we are watching a team that has been really good without Chet Holmgren, right? We haven't even seen Chet Holmgren back into the fold. So I think that's what the odds makers are looking at. When he comes back, obviously, if healthy, he adds another layer, another dimension to this team, right? And then I think when you look at that list, Craig, and you see that the Denver Nuggets are second in terms of odds, you say to yourself, okay, well, what about Memphis? What about Houston that's ahead? It shows you that the odds makers trust what Denver's done before, maybe thinking they can make a move, maybe they can get a trade that can help them get a little bit better, and they just trust Jokic, who's still the best player in the game. So, but I think OKC has shown themselves as the best team in the West. We saw what they did to Cleveland in the rematch. They're just too deep, too dominant, and they have right now, in my opinion, the front runner for MVP in SGA.
Yeah, gotta be in the West. He's been fantastic. All right, let's take a look. And right now, the Milwaukee Bucks are on a heater. They've won 5 games in a row. Nice homestand for them. They've moved up in terms of odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook to 11-1. The Celtics are still the favorite at -105, but we can't discount Cleveland with the way that they've played. No question about that. The Knicks are right there. Milwaukee is right there. I feel like it's one of those 4 teams, Dexter. It'd be a big surprise if anybody else won the East.
Yeah, it also feels like those 4 teams look like they should be a lock for the top 4. I mean, I'd say watch out for Orlando as they get a little healthier. But in terms of winning the East, I think those top 4 are appropriately positioned. Look, Milwaukee has been playing pretty good. And I think what's interesting is their offensive rating has gone back up. They're now at 11th in offensive rating. Their defense, it's around 10, 11 too, depending on where you look. But I have a little bit of concerns about how they could defend on the perimeter. But anytime you have Dame and you have Giannis on your team, you're going to have a shot. And this is what makes them tough in the playoffs. Again, a little bit suspect on their defense, but they are tough out with those 2 guys. And you have to credit the job Doc Rivers has done. After the slow start, they now are starting to play some good basketball. So you got to like what you see from Milwaukee, but I still think Boston absolutely should be the favorites to come out the East as they are right now. But I wouldn't sleep on Cleveland. If you like Cleveland, some nice value there.
3-1 to win right now. All right, Dexter, thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon.
No problem. Thank you, Craig.
All right, coming up next, a little last licks. The National Baseball Hall of Fame will announce tonight who's getting in this summer. We'll talk about that next.
They have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner a little, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Big announcement tonight. Several players, it would appear, are going to be voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame by the writers. We'll talk about that. Also talk about another year of eligibility from a punter who certainly doesn't need it. And also what happened post-game last night with Ohio State after they won. Time now for some last lick. All right, Ohio State ends up winning the national championship. You knew that last night. You saw the players and you saw Ryan Day, the head coach, interviewed after the game on the field. Maybe you turned it off after that, which is what I did. That was it. So I didn't see this last night. I didn't see it till the morning. So apparently, after the game ended, as Day and Will Howard were on a golf cart, and this is pretty standard, by the way, for football games, the golf cart takes you over to the post-game room because it could be quite far. I mean, this could be, 3/4 of a mile, could be half a mile. I mean, it's possible. I mean, the stadiums are huge, and that stadium in Mercedes-Benz Atlanta is huge too. So they were on this golf cart, and apparently what happened was somebody who was driving the golf cart crashed it. Flat out crashed the golf cart with the coach and the quarterback up against the wall. I think you can see it right there a little bit. Now, somebody did come to the rescue and try and get the cart off the wall. It would not go in reverse, and they could not do it, and they had to walk the rest of the way. Now, here's the best news of all. It sounds like I'm kidding, but literally nobody was injured in this, okay? Nobody was hurt. Nothing happened. Just kind of a funny situation. But how this ends up happening is sort of strange, right? Like, I understand that this is very standard for football and for press conferences. They get on that cart and they go. But in this case, you got to get a better driver. And this poor woman who was driving this cart, oh my gosh, I don't think she's ever going to hear the end of this one, crashing Ryan Day up against the wall. All right, tonight around 6:30, usually around 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern, we're going to find out who gets into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. As of right now, the way that this is trending is, and they have, this guy who posts the ballots, not Mr. Tibbs is his name. I don't think he's on Twitter anymore. He's on like Blue Sky or something like that. But regardless of that, the way that this is trending is that Ichiro is going to be a Hall of Famer. Right now, all of the voters who have released their ballots publicly have voted for Ichiro. So he has 100% of the ballot vote. Now, again, this doesn't happen very often. You remember a few years ago, Derek Jeter, there was one person who didn't vote for him. Maybe one person will not vote for Ichiro. The other names that are worth watching, it does appear that CC Sabathia, the former pitcher for the Yankees and Cleveland and Milwaukee, is heavily trending toward getting in. And then the final name could end up being relief pitcher Billy Wagner. This is his last time on the ballot. He is also trending toward the Hall of Fame. They already announced that through the Veterans Committee that Dave Parker is going in the Hall of Fame, and so is Richie Allen. So it could be a field of 5 different former baseball players in July in Cooperstown, which would be pretty cool. Ichiro, of course, I covered Ichiro. He played for the Marlins. People forget that for some reason. He got his 3,000th hit with the Marlins in Colorado. So I don't think he's going to be wearing a Marlins cap in the Hall of Fame. But needless to say, on his bust, it will say Miami Marlins. All right, finally, East Carolina's punter Luke Larson has entered the transfer portal. Why are we doing that at the end of this show, you may ask? Well, Luke Larson has tallied 7,099 punting yards, and he is 32 years old in the transfer portal. He somehow has another year of eligibility. He is the oldest player in all of college football and is going to play one more year somewhere else. What kind of NIL money do you pay for a 32-year-old punter? That is my question. I have no idea. I mean, some of these quarterbacks are getting $7 million. Does this guy get $7? I mean, he's a punter, no offense. 32 years old? And where does he even go from here? Would any team even take him in the NFL? You can have a punter coming out of college next year who's 10 years younger than this guy at ECU and maybe just as good or better. But, hey, congrats. Why go play in the NFL if you don't have a shot? If you can continue to play college and get yourself another $100,000 or $200,000, you may as well do it through the portal and the NIL. And that's exactly what Luke Larson is doing. So well thought out, I guess, by him. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to all of our guests here on the program. That would include Vinnie Iyer of Sporting News, Jacob Camenker of USA Today, and Dexter Henry of SNY. Coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern, it's Pharrell, Coast to Coast. So stay on the grid for Scotty. He's got a preview of all the games in the NBA, college basketball, and the NHL tonight. Also, we've got game time decisions coming your way at 6, in-game live game day, and then tonight it is Sports Rage. Also, Smiley Kaufman's got his great golf show. That's coming up in just 2 minutes from now when we're off the air. Thanks again to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. It is cold out there. It is snowing in North Florida. It is snowing in Louisiana. So stay safe, stay warm. I'll see you back here for our next edition of NewsWire tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone.